Hello, my name is Liz Van Hoose, and I'm the Senior Marketing Manager at Meez. We are a recipe manager solution for restaurants or anybody that has a professional kitchen, hotel, anyone you can think of that has somebody in the kitchen doing something. So one of the things about Meez is obviously they're kitchen people, and if you've seen the bear, that means there's a lot going on. They're not necessarily in front of a computer all day.
Yes, chef.
Some people in like restaurant groups where they have a larger organization, obviously they have dedicated people like a CFO that is looking at the numbers, wanting to make sure that their restaurant is profitable. But people like a culinary manager, where obviously profitability is important, but so is training their team and making sure that, the experiences that you have at restaurants are consistent. They're kind of a multi-pronged approach to what they care about. And so what Meez does is just make sure that your recipe connects to how much you're physically costing every recipe, and making sure that that connects to your overall menu, and making sure that you understand the impact of changing just this little ingredient, how that would impact your profitability, whether or not you need to change a portion size, whether or not that impacts your bottom line, and just gives you a better idea of what your full menu looks like, on top of being able to use the tool as a training experience for new team members, or being able to introduce new menu items in a more efficient way. So let's just go through the reason why we decided to invest in Navattic. So first things first, Meez is a 30-person team, and therefore our sales team are only a handful of individuals, and so they need to be able to have something to be able to use for prospecting. But another part of our revenue is people who are in our self-serve cycle. So people who are interested in taking a trial and experiencing the tool without necessarily talking to our sales team. And so that was the main motivator as to why we decided to have an interactive demo. Having just a self-guided exploration experience, and being able to activate our trialists in a way that didn't just force them to log in, but to actually understand how to use the product. In addition, like I had mentioned, because we're such a small team, being able to have just one individual be able to build out a product demo without having our sales team involved is super efficient, and that's just what we had to do. So their demo workflow, just for context, most of our, basically this is what the experience is like on our whole website. It's a gated experience, and then you can choose what you're interested in. So instead of forcing people to go into a full lockup of the whole tool, they can tell us, okay, I want to do food costing. Okay, next I want to do the training tour. One thing that I'll mention later on, because we have this choose your own adventure experience, we're able to capture and understand exactly the features that people are interested in. And if they have taken several tours, then we'll know, okay, they're most likely to convert and are ready to talk to sales, or convert on their own, depending on what features that they decide to tour through this interactive demo. So like I said, in this selection, they chose food costing as the tour that they wanted to take. They went through the demo, and they said, okay, now what do I do next? And food costing tends to be the first tour that is the biggest indicator that somebody is ready to buy. Okay, so 4 key Navattic placements. Let's go through those. Interactive tour on the website. Like I said, on our website, it's a fully gated experience. We have tours that talk through our 6 main features, and it's basically a way for prospects to understand how Meez is without having to talk to sales necessarily. Even in our demo form on our website, if somebody isn't qualified based off of how they've answered the questions, then we basically force them to take a tour, because, well, sales team is small. We want to make sure that they're talking to the right people, but this isn't necessarily like preventing people to take a trial, because all they care about is being able to see the product. So that's helped our, like I said, the self-serve revenue piece, and it's a huge part of the whole process. So free trial activation. So Within our free trial experience, a majority of the emails that we send do have a link to take a tour, and they're pointing to these different features, both within whether or not they've logged into the app or not, and just within our general marketing automation systems. And so they're, like I said, if they reach certain activation points, then they're most likely to convert. And so then that information is passed on to sales team, letting them know that people are ready to talk, or especially if we can see like what their email is and that they're like part of a restaurant group, et cetera, then we know that they're more qualified than somebody that, you know, came in through a Gmail. Another thing is through feature launches. This is probably one of the main reasons that we decided to invest in Navattic, is just because, well, we're a startup and new features are on the way, and we want to make sure that we have an easier way to demonstrate what is in the pipeline, without necessarily having to go back and say, hey, sales team, create something for us. Instead, we have somebody that, our head of growth is the main person that updates all of our Navattics, and so they just make sure they connect with our product team, and then they, and our, and other people on our team who are actually have experience within the culinary industry, to make sure that whatever we introduce feature-wise actually connects with our audience of people who are in restaurants. Outside of that, we also use it for supporting flows, to answer any common questions for anyone that is onboarding, both within like a self-serve onboarding experience, because we have a whole automation that goes through, this is how you do this is how you do that. And so we have Navattics that walk through those different pieces, in addition to, obviously, if our CS team have calls with customers, they'll be able to point to these Navattics as like a follow-up conversation. And then, you know, I think most people who have invested in this use it in some sort of outbound sales enablement capacity. And so for us, it's truly to highlight the aha moment of what Meez is, because like I said, people aren't really at their computer looking at something like this. They just want to be able to do it on their own time. And so that's kind of just a great way to offer product transparency and be able to just give people back their time to be able to do things that they need to do. So what are the results? Okay, so our self-serve growth, it grew from 10% to 50% over the last 12 months. That's a huge growth lever, clearly. Yes. And additionally, just like sales team efficiency, like I said, so sales can focus on high potential users that engage with those two key tours. And then that further boosts our ACV, because we're just getting more qualified people to purchase it on their own. And then because of that, just generally just having higher ACV and customer growth, because we're not necessarily being too precious about what the product is like. And then a couple of things that we've learned is that this choose your own adventure sort of experience is the way to go, because I would say maybe for the first 6 months it was more of an open experience, and then and then we decided to change it, and that like completely, you know, changed the experience, because people can decide what they want to do. And then on top of that, we made sure that every single tour was, you know, no longer than 12 steps, so we're not overwhelming them. It really only takes a couple minutes to complete, and you're not just like saying that in an email. It truly does take that amount of time. And then it just prioritizes the core value first. So when we're launching new features, we just make sure to right off the bat say what they're going to see, and then walk through it in 2 minutes or less. And then one other thing I was gonna say, and just being able to really point out this is like only 12 things that you're gonna see at the bottom within the actual tour itself, instead of being like, I have no idea how long this is gonna take, has been really helpful. So I will show a tour just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. So after, you know, you decided you want to take it, you submit your email, then you say, I'm going to cost my recipe, start the tour, and like I said, it shows you the different steps that you're going to take, so you know it's only 16, and then it walks through what you're going to do. In this case, you're updating the ingredient cost for one specific ingredient, because as we all know, things are getting more and more expensive. And so then you can also choose how big that purchase unit is, update the cost, and then it's automatically updated right here. I don't really want to like necessarily go through it because then maybe y'all aren't really restaurant group individuals, but like the aha moment is that this is, you can see it right here, how much this recipe costs right here, because, you know, I guess I can't really, yeah, right here. So you can see all the individual ingredients and how they cost. And then down here, you can see what the total cost would be, the food cost percentage, what the profit margin would be. And so the whole thing about Meez is that this is just one recipe, right? And so, and this is even just like a sub recipe within a larger recipe, which is like a banh mi pork bowl. And so being able to understand how much every piece of that recipe costs, and then have a larger menu to be able to see, okay, I'll like tweak maybe this one ingredient, and then let's see how much that affects, how much it costs, and then I can tweak the sell price. And then, I mean, like that's one of the biggest aha moments, and that's why food costing is probably one of the main indicators for why somebody would want to use Meez. And so I guess the conclusion is I love Navattic.
Do you mind if we open up if there are any questions?
Sure.
So I'm curious, at the very end, how do you end it? Do you say you want to throw on?
It's the same sort of thing, but it's a choose your own adventure experience where now you've taken the food costing tour. What do you want to do next? Yeah. Any other questions? No?
Thank you so much.
Okay.